Polychlorinated biphenyls are chemicals that are produced by most fragrances. For example, a Yankee Candle.
Yes.
I do.
No, I don't. Yes, they are chemicals found in plastics, right?
Yes.
Not entirely.
No.
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 I did read a book years ago called Slow Death by Rubber Duck by two Canadians. They indicated there that PCBs are endocrine disruptors. And if you're in an unventilated place like a bathroom and you spray Febreze, that puts phthalates in the atmosphere and then you inhale them or ingest them through touch. And it causes things like ADHD, memory loss, fatigue. There's many neurological side effects from the chemicals, so therefore I think they were banned in the 70s, but they're still left in the environment.
Yes.
I think they probably still do, yes.
I'm not 100% sure what they are, so I can't quite answer that question.
Probably.
I grew up in the 70s. PCBs were definitely an issue back in the 60s and 70s, but we stopped using them. So therefore, not so much today, as long as we don't disturb the soil.
Yes.
Yes.
Possibly. Not sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'd have to know what they are before I can answer that question.
I think I just answered that, but I don't think many adults or students are aware of PCBs or their effects, hence the consumption of Yankee Candles or fast food paper wrappings or air fresheners. I mean, many of us always get our first car or second car and we want it to smell pretty, so we hang that pine tree air freshener, and I assume that's laced with PCBs, which might not be a good thing.
Fairly educated on this.
I'm more familiar with like birth defects, so I'm not really sure what the statistics are in today's youth.
No.
Yes.
Youth? No. Eagles? Yes. When I was a kid, there was no bald eagles. Because PCBs were killing them all. They're top of the food chain. Nowadays, I was watching the Eagles over the weekend. They're all over the place.
No.
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 Does it have something to do with like damage of some sort to like the brain or?
I'd like to say that my family never eats fast food. However, I bet we accidentally buy things that are wrapped in paper that I don't think have PCBs in them, but I'm sure they do.
Maybe twice a month.
Myself personally, I never go to fast food restaurants. My kids bake me once in a while.
Well, I wrap food after dinner in saran wrap or a cover container. My kids take plastic bags or plastic containers with snacks to school. So in that sense, on a daily basis.
Probably like 4 days a week.
All the time. I love fast food.
Pretty often.
I don't know. Like a couple. Fast food like once a month. I don't know about like how much of my food's in saran wrap usually.
Not very often.
Probably like a few times a week.
Very unfrequently.
People need to realize that the food they're consuming at fast food restaurants is really bad for them because of the PCBs they are wrapped in.
I think the government, whether state or federal, regulations are in place to minimize or reduce PCBs, but I think it just moves way too slowly, so the effects are still there.
It would be lovely to say yes, but I don't know if they would ever be able to have that funding.
I think they shouldn't be able to purchase anything that hasn't already been tested for PCBs or other chemicals.
If it's a threat to youth or to the health of anyone, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 I don't know what they are.
If it's something harmful, then yeah.
Schools should be required to test for PCBs because the students that go to school every day are the most affected by them. The PCBs are in the walls of the school and they seep into the air when the school ages, and when the students breathe them in, it can cause slower reading and learning disabilities in developing kids' brains. And a lot of times students and teachers are unaware of the problem, and so schools should definitely be required to test for them.
Years ago, we discovered the effects of BPA, bisphenol. It's a polymer just like PCBs. And I think my family and I tried to reduce our use of plastic. One of the things we did is we don't send our children to school with plastic containers. We send them with metal containers that are reusable or recyclable, so we can clean and reuse. We are guilty of occasionally buying plastic water bottles of Poland Springs, which we should probably work on. But I think we're aware of it and try to make efforts to reduce, but it's very difficult.
My Tupperware, a lot of it is plastic, which is probably not a good thing. I would say I drink out of a refillable water bottle. That's plastic. I do that every day. And then maybe, so twice a day.
Container.
Not very much at all anymore. Gotten away from it.
I don't.
Occasionally, like a day or so, using Tupperware. I don't normally drink out of plastic containers.
All day long.
Almost every day.
Probably every day.
Once or twice a day.
Probably twice.
Well, my coffee from Chunks is in a plastic container. The Gatorade bottles and then seltzer. And then bottled water.
I think people should limit their use of plastics that they eat and drink from because it contains PCBs and it can be very harmful.
Yes, frequently. Only because I've read several books. Again, Slow Death by Robert Duck was a big one.
Not enough.
I do actually. I think that's something that we should all be thinking more about, and I think that we don't have enough information. I think the companies haven't given us the tools to even know what's in the products that we're using every day.
Chemicals. I guess I think more about the ingredients than the packaging.
Yes.
It doesn't have BHP or whatever that other word is. PCBs, nah, that's not in plastics these days.
No.
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 Not really.
People should start thinking more about the PCBs that they use in products because it can cause harmful effects later on in life.